It's a building on a bamboo farm, which is a project that Saloom and Jakob and Lorenz are running, kind of effectively like testing the feasibility of bamboo, of growing bamboo in Tanzania and using it for different things. I think one of the intentions is to use it as a building material. So yeah, this is going to be the kind of effectively like the farmhouse and office. So on the ground floor, there's a office space, and then there's a kind of small like utility space with a shower room and boot store and these kind of things. And then upstairs, you've got two guest rooms.
So it's kind of like a showcase project, looking into how you can use bamboo in different ways. We're prototyping these bamboo roofing panels. We've also got other panels for doors and things like that, and we're going to be using a bamboo facade around the building. So it's kind of showing what bamboo can do as a construction technology, and what potentially new industries or new kind of products could be created. Different scaled up technologies such as these roof panels.
Yeah, and like bamboo sheet materials. These kind of things. And also how it can like integrate with other materials as well. So it is a show house, and it has like kind of pieces that are different materials, but it also works with other existing materials that you find here in Tanzania that are quite common for building construction, like timber frame and burnt brick walls.
Can you see? Water tower. On the side of the farm, kind of over there, we have different species of bamboo from different regions. Different species of bamboo is kind of useful for a range of applications. You have some that grow very quick but maybe aren't structurally sound, and some are longer growing. You've got different textures, qualities.
So yeah, it's a similar ilk with the other projects where they're testing it at a smaller scale with the kind of first bamboo farm, and then they're scaling up, and you see the kind of new issues that you face when you scale up. And we're doing a similar thing, I guess, with the houses in Mtwara. There were a handful of prototype houses built in Magoda, and now we're kind of taking those, what was learned from those, scaling it up, and then seeing the new problems that occur when you scale up.
One of the interesting things about bamboo as a construction material is that it's really fast growing, so it locks in a lot of carbon compared to, for example, a hardwood or other types of natural materials.
Thinking about appropriate materials for mass housing, this could be a really, really interesting material, because not only are you getting material that can grow really fast, you have material that you could potentially be carbon sequestering as well, and it can be grown locally. So yeah, I think there's huge potential. To talk about this kind of decentralized farming, we were also talking with Saloom. We were asking how some of the other farmers around had reacted, and they thought it was quite funny that one of the bamboo that they're growing in the nursery, it grows naturally in the area, but the farmers currently get rid of it because they think of it as a weed. So it's just going to be really interesting to see how this like value changes.
And it's a kind of funny culture clash when someone new moves into the farming area and starts growing effectively a field of weeds. So you look back into kind of historical images of housing in Africa, you often see bamboo use, but that kind of was lost at some point. In Southeast Asia, you can see it used on a mass scale and very affordably as well. So that's another reason that why it's so interesting for our kind of Star Homes projects. People will kind of step in and fill that entrepreneurial gap. Like, I'm always amazed by, you meet people here in Tanzania and they're kind of doing 3 things as their day job, and then they kind of have so many other gigs going, and it's incredible.
We had a really nice example with the government brought in a plastic bag ban about a year ago, and it happened like one day, no plastic bags. If you're caught with a plastic bag, you get a fine. And we were like, okay, that's obviously like a really great policy, but I wonder how it's going to really be implicated and then implemented. And then the next day we went to the market and the whole market had changed. There were news shops that were selling reusable bags. There were people making kind of bags out of old newspapers and all these different things.
Different shapes, so like
almost instantaneous.
Fruit cones, like.
It was just, incredibly like adaptive.
In Europe, it's about 30 to 40% of all investments goes into architecture. All energy, all waste comes from architecture. And it's probably the same in Africa, if not more. So if 40% of the resources used in a society is used in a not so efficient way, you can gain a lot from looking at this. Just to put it in context in a way, in terms of the scale about what we're talking about, we know that the population of Africa is going to be doubled in the next 30 years or something. At 2050, there will be 1.3 billion people more in Africa. It's like adding the current population of India on top of the current population of Africa. It's massive. And we also know that a lot of the buildings already existing have to be rebuilt in the next 30 years. So we're talking about housing for around 2 billion people that has to be replaced in the next 30 years. 2 billion people in 30 years. It's massive. So if we can make houses just a bit better, now we're looking at the rural areas, but it could also be the more urban areas. But if we can improve the houses and at the same time save resources.
Yeah, and people think about urbanization and these huge mega cities that are growing throughout Africa. I mean, you have in Nigeria these famous places like Lagos, but Dar es Salaam is the same. I mean, there's cities which are growing every year, and so the growth rate in these large cities in developing countries is about 4%. But people, I think, sometimes assume then that people are moving from the country into the cities, which to a degree is true, but the rural places are also growing. So it's just that the urban growth rate is much faster than the rural growth rate, but it doesn't mean that there's any growth in rural areas. We haven't been to any villages which suddenly collapse and people have disappeared. These ghost villages doesn't exist. People still live there, just the excess population moves into the city. And the rural places increase as well. So at the moment we are focusing on improvement of rural housing, and the growth rate in rural areas is about 2%. 1.9, 2% or something like this. And as you said, the houses, mud huts, have to be replaced. If you leave a mud hut for a full year and you don't do anything, you can be pretty sure the next rains it's going to collapse. So you have to continuously build on it, add new mud to it, fix cracks, otherwise water goes in and then it falls apart. And then every 5 years or so, you have to rebuild a mud hut. That's not something which lasts.
So a third of the new houses that goes up in Africa in the next 30 years, they will be in rural areas. And at the moment, there's few people addressing these issues. It's all about the urban areas.
And if you have better rural living, better rural housing, maybe there's not such a pressure to move to the cities.
I was in Magoda first time in 94. That is 25 years ago today.
Alikuwa Magoda miaka 25 iliyopita, mwaka 1994.
And we also have a small film from 1994, an old film.
Na kuna sinema nyingine ambayo walitengeneza mwaka 94.
Okay, the first film takes 18 minutes. And welcome, and again, thank you always for being so friendly and welcoming when Lawrence and I and the rest of us have come. So thank you to everybody in Magoda on behalf of Lawrence, Salum and I.